All right, part two. If it isn't the Raiders, Josh Murphy, Murph at Raiders Fan Radio. Murph, full disclosure. Me growing up, 1984, Bears Raiders, one of the most violent games of all time. I'm a Chicago guy. I hate the Raiders, Murph, but I'm happy to talk to you, buddy. Good to see you, pal.
Hey, great to be here. Appreciate you having me on, despite your tainted fandom.
I have matured slightly over the years, so I'm able to do this for the Raiders and even the Patriots these days. All right,
there you go.
Murph, what's going on with your favorite football team? Back-to-back losses after 5-2. Everybody, the Raiders were kind of like a darling playoff team, and now they're never gonna get back to anything in 2021, and of course haven't made the playoffs since 2016.
Yeah, thanks for those reminders. Very kind of you. It's rough, man, being a Raider fan. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, we're our show is called Raiders Fan Radio for a reason. Like, our fandom never wanes. Our passion for this team will never wane. The performance on the field can't affect my Raider fandom. But man, it's a grind being a Raider fan, and these midseason collapses post bye week of late. I'm telling you, the Raiders give you hope early on, and then you end with despair. And it's like, and both things are true as simultaneously. And that's the hardest thing about it, is that the dichotomy and the difference between when the Raiders are great and the Raiders stink. It's like, how do you go out and you beat the brakes off the Eagles post Gruden being gone, or you win a Monday Night Football against the Ravens to open the season, and then you freaking turn in a crap sandwich at the Meadowlands, and then ultimately get blown out by your biggest rival with first place on the line. So it's like, you just don't know what you're going to get throughout the course of the season, and so it's like this emotional roller coaster. It's the most abusive relationship in my life.
Well, and since you talked about the abusive relationship and underlined it, I think 7 times in that soliloquy there, which I appreciated. So we're getting to know you here, Murph. It's good. I love it. Are you? Where are you based, Murph? Is what I want to know, because you talk about abusive. Los Angeles, Oakland, Vegas. I mean, that's like, the fact that you're still on the team is impressive.
Yeah, well, I grew up in the Bay Area. My first time going to the Oakland Coliseum I was in utero. My mom went to the 72 World Series. So I literally grew up around the Coliseum, not only with just the Raiders, but the A's and the Warriors at the arena and whatever. Okay. So, but I'm from San Jose, California. It's where my fandom came from. But I live now in Middle Tennessee. I live just outside of Nashville, and brought my fandom with me. And so, it's as tough as it was. I was in California when the Raiders left for Los Angeles, and that dinged us up pretty good. And then, of course, coming back to Oakland, it was amazing. But now that with the move to Vegas, it was like, I'm out of market now. And so many Raider fans are. I mean, one thing we've learned with our podcast is that Raider Nation truly is global. And so, yeah, I mean, I would rather them move to Vegas than move to, I don't know, San Antonio or some of the other places that was talked about. Or even Los Angeles, for that matter. I'm happy that the Raiders are in Vegas.
I love that take, that, hey, I'd rather go to Vegas than go back to LA and play in that cesspool. Did I say that properly? I think
absolutely. It's funny because there's so many LA Raider fans, so but I'm a Bay Area guy. So like, LA is the rival. Like, I hate the Dodgers and the Lakers, and like, you know what I mean? Like, I can't stand those teams. And so when the Raiders went to LA, us Bay Area Raider fans, like, it was like, ooh, LA, like, you know what I mean? Of course, we don't stop being fans, but we got dinged up a little bit on that one.
Yeah, no, it's you get A+ gold stars all for your fandom. That, I mean, a true diehard. Murph, let's rewind back to the day you found out that Jon Gruden was no longer going to be the Raiders head coach. Did you think that was a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, I think that he got what he deserved. I mean, when you weaponize words and use them and target people with them, that's an inexcusable act. And so I thought that, the reasons for him being dismissed from the team, or allegedly resigned, whatever you want to call it, I thought everything was valid around that. But, on the field, and as a fan of the team and the quality of play and the timing of it and everything, I mean, I'll save you my conspiracy theories around this, and I'm not a big conspiracy guy, but it's just awful fishy the way that this thing went down, and the way that the Raiders were targeted, when they were targeted, the cover up of all the rest of the information. Like, and look, as Raider fans, we kind of live in conspiracy anyways, whether, it's because of all the lawsuits and everything that has been Al Davis versus the NFL for almost the entirety of the existence of this team. But yeah, like it came out of nowhere. And then all of a sudden it was gone. And so, the Raiders were left with the aftermath.
And I don't think anybody's arguing that, it was, well, with the allegations that it was unfair to Gruden. The conspiracy part as to how it all went down and who else could have gone down at that time, I think that's all extremely fair. But just from a sheer football standpoint, we mentioned you haven't made the playoffs since 2016. Jon Gruden getting paid a ton of money. I mean, was it better for the team to actually move on from him? That blessing in disguise, so to speak. Under the circumstances, it's kind of weird to talk about that, but I'm wondering,
Sure.
oh, thank God this guy's not coaching the team anymore.
There was a lot of people that were questionable, or fans anyways, people in my sphere that questioned a lot of like his play calling and whatnot. And sometimes we can have an uneducated opinion as fans because we don't know what's really going on in terms of inside the walls and with the X's and O's and everything. But the optics were that, Gruden, that some of the fans weren't happy with the play calling and whatnot. Well, in the aftermath of this now being this far out, we see that like the Raiders are much worse on third down than they were when Gruden was there. The amount of yards to gain on third down was greater, and yet our percentage of first down attainments was higher than it is now. So like, on the field, like I think it hurt us. Now in the immediate wake of it, having Philly come into Allegiant Stadium where the Raiders blew them out. The game wasn't even a question from early on. There was a post that game. There was a lot of talk amongst some of the players and even the coaches about like breathing room and that there's a little more freedom in it now. And whether it be Derek Carr at the line of scrimmage or Greg Olsen calling plays or Josh Jacobs talking about the demeanor on the sideline, like there was an ease about it. And so my initial thought after that was, okay, well, maybe this is going to work out. Maybe Gruden built the framework, had the vision, but couldn't get outside of that and be, creative in it. He was just so stuck to, it's like the tin cup factor. Like you're just so locked into getting the shot that you blow the tournament. And so I thought, well, maybe this will be good. But now we're finding that maybe that's not the case, that maybe this ease and this breathing room, well, maybe there was accountability that was lost as well, because you didn't see any of that on Sunday night. And I don't want to be a prisoner of the moment. And there's a long way to go for the rest of this season. We are not out of it by any means, but man, that was ugly. Like to go backwards that hard, like there's got to be that factor. So we'll see where it ends up, because we got, now again, like I said in the beginning, we got two things are true. The Raiders were great without him, and then the Raiders have sucked without him. So it's like, which one are we?
Well, everyone's screaming about Sunday night. Get the ball to Darren Waller. You targeted him 19 times in week 1. He had 10 catches, and now he can't get the football. Well, they're scheming for him, clearly. That's part
Absolutely.
of it. But, I don't think the Raiders are idiots that they don't realize that, throwing the ball to Darren Waller is a good thing. But how are you seeing that part of the equation?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I think the Ruggs factor plays into that a lot. Ruggs is, when you have that elite type of speed, it's not just the go route. It's not just run the 9 route or whatever. I mean, yes, that is a part of it at times, certainly, but it's that threat of it. It's not even the execution of it, down in, down out. It's the threat of it. Pull safeties up out of the box. It keeps people from doubling up and playing, lower zones, and allows guys like Waller and Renfro and whatnot to work free. And so we haven't had that. And clearly the Raiders have missed it, because now we're doing nothing but chasing speed. Of course we signed Deshaun Jackson. I believe we just signed Tyron Johnson this week, a 4.36 guy. So it obviously has had a massive impact to the way that this offense is designed. And hopefully we'll get it right. I think Deshaun Jackson is going to work out just fine with the team. I know he wants that play back, just like we all do. That happened on Sunday Night Football. But we saw at least a little bit of a glimpse of it, when that completion happened. I mean, that was exactly what we were kind of looking for. That was the missing piece. We thought it might have been Zay Jones. He might have been the guy, but he's not. Anyways, you asked about Darren Waller. I think that's what it is that by not having that deep level threat, it just allows them to everybody to just focus on him underneath. And that's also where Renfro is best at too. So although Renfro has had a little more consistency to his game, but yeah, you take away all that stuff underneath and we're in big trouble. And we can't run the football either, because they can just commit so much to the line of scrimmage. And so Derek Carr is your leading rusher on Sunday Night Football with 18 yards.
Yeah. the Deshaun Jackson part, I think you're going to see him on the field more. I think that's pretty obvious that it's something that the Raiders definitely need right now, and hopefully he can, for your sake, Murph, he can dial up the fountain of youth a little bit here.
Yeah.
You mentioned Henry Ruggs and incredible tragedy on so many levels. And you mentioned the on the field part of it. I thought it was really interesting, Derek Carr stepping up. Hey, look, this guy needs support right now. If no one else is going to do it, I'm going to do it. And maybe I'm reaching way too far here, saying because you look at his performance the last couple of weeks, it's been down. I'm wondering, is this taking a toll, not just on the field where you're going to miss that guy clearly, but off the field for the team? I mean, it has to, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, one of the things that makes Derek Carr great is his heart, right? The guy leads with that. He leads with love and kindness and compassion and grace, and you know what I mean? And that's and I think we're all called to do that. And some execute that better than others. And I think Carr exemplifies those things and does that very well. That could also be his kryptonite, though, too. I like you said, I don't know how it could not be to have your coach go, the guy that you live next door to, the guy that you have hung your freaking career on is all of a sudden gone. And then this young player who he's developing a relationship with, and then again, the tragic circumstances, it's heartbreaking. And so when you're Derek Carr, his heart's broken. And I think a lot of them are they're professional athletes and they get paid big money and all that kind of stuff, but they're human beings, man. And when you see that happen, I mean, it hurts us and we're just fans. You know what I mean? And even if you're not a Raider fan, it just hurts your heart because you're a human being. And so to have these guys go through what they've gone through, and then in the wake of it, I don't know how you can not be impacted by it. Now, that said, at a certain point, we all go through things. We all have struggles and loss and all that. And so at some point you gotta go back to work, and you got to go back and get on the grind, and you got to move forward. And I don't know when that day is for the Raiders. I'm going to hope it's against Cincinnati this weekend. But yeah, I certainly don't, as a fan, you want them to just go, come on, man, get over it. Let's go. But as a human, and as a heart with compassion as well, it's I get it, man. I get it. Why, their mentals aren't right, and last thing I'll say about it is that, the NFL is not afraid to talk about that these days. You got players taking time off for, their mentals all over the place. And it's become more of a societal conversation as well. So I think to acknowledge it is not to acknowledge a weakness. I think it's to acknowledge a reality. And then hopefully the Raiders can grow through it and then, get it figured out.
I mean, there's real life, and then there's that level of real life. And that is some, it was just so upsetting, brutal, all of it. But here, speaking of just, moving forward here, Murph,
okay.
what does it look like in your mind if the Raiders are actually going to be a playoff team this year, sitting at 5-4, third in the AFC West, and in a very challenging part of their season, clearly?
Yeah, it's with Cincinnati on the horizon, and then we got a Thursday game against the Cowboys, which we usually suck on Thanksgiving. Then you got the Washington football team who just beat the Buccaneers, and then we got the Chiefs again. So it's at Arrowhead. So yeah, it's pretty rough. So, but I think ultimately what it comes down to is, guys like JT the Brick and some very prominent, Hondo Carpenter, prominent Raiders media folks calling this a playoff game, and I think ultimately it is. And I never want to put too much importance on a regular season game and be like, oh, if we don't win, that's it. But I think that it's gotten to that point. And how do you win playoff games? You play defense and you run the football. You'd have the most dynamic offenses in the world. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to games that are what do we always see teams that ultimately win championships are? Those are the things that they do great, and they do it great when they have to. And so I think that's what we got to do. We have to play defense. We can't. We got an $11 million guaranteed to Kenyon Drake. We got Josh Jacobs in a first-round pick. And Derek Carr's your leading rusher? We got to get that figured out. We got to run the football. And then defensively, a team that was averaging 8.5 quarterback pressures a game, and we couldn't get to Patrick Mahomes when they had a third-string right tackle? Come on, Yannick Ngakoue and Max Crosby. And you know what? Let's go. Gus Bradley didn't forget how to coach. You guys didn't forget how to play. We got the players. We got the guys to execute. We're a little dinged up. And I know Jonathan Abrams caught his fair share of criticism, but we've got enough horsepower to get it done on defense. So that's what ultimately, I think that's how the Raiders get this thing turned around. Takes a lot of the pressure off of Derek Carr. Let's create some turnovers. Let's score some points on defense to where Derek doesn't feel like he's got to go out there and win the thing himself. I think that's ultimately what the Raiders need to do.
Did you fire on on Gus Bradley on Raiders Fan Radio for his. Hey, this is our defense. We're not going to do cover 2 against Patrick Mahomes, even though it's worked by literally everyone who's done it this year. Because I mean, you just underlined, you gave Gus credit, but I do want to know if you went at him at least on that particular note.
Yeah, well, it was an interesting call, right? And that's the Tin Cup thing, right? Like, you're so married to one thing that ultimately you lose the tournament because you want to make one shot. And I think he's it's fair for the criticism. I think am I muted?
No, I don't think so. I hear you.
Okay. It says my mic got muted. Sorry about that. Yes, ultimately you got to be more flexible within that, because the Chiefs didn't all of a sudden get great. That's the other narrative that drives me nuts. It's like, oh, the Chiefs are back. No, they're not. The Raiders sucked. Like, that's what happened. You know what I mean? And frankly, and a lot of it was because of that, because we had that inflexibility on defense. And so, that was unfortunate. I think that's deserving.
I want to go back to where we started a little bit here. Does Las Vegas, does it feel like home? I mean, is this home I know it is home for the Raiders, but like, I just want to know if you've settled in and this is it. And I mean, you're not going anywhere, but all right. Like when I bring it up, it's like, why are you even bringing that up? That's not even a thing anymore. Are we that far down the road?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's still a new experience for us because, we didn't have fans last year. So, well, we had fans, but we couldn't go to the games last year. So I went to Vegas for the inaugural season and was in town for the inaugural game at Allegiant Stadium. And it felt very Raidery, like not only from the crowds, but the businesses and the community has really embraced the team being there, which has been great because, in the Bay Area, it was such a split market. And then even on the back end of their time in Oakland, frankly, there's a backlash from media. They weren't getting covered on the radio stations. There wasn't advertisement. It wasn't but you go to Vegas and it's, there's a Raiders shield at Caesars and our jerseys on the Statue of Liberty at New York. And the town has embraced the Raiders. Now, after going out there this year for a game, I went out to the Dolphins game and I'm headed back a few more times. It's still got that feel. It's got the vibe from the fans, but there is this new added element of competitive, or not competitive, but your opposition's fans being in town. And Raider fan was pretty vocal about some of the season ticket holders selling to Chiefs fans this last weekend. And there was a lot of red jerseys, and there's red jerseys in the black hole. And I'm not saying that you would never see an opponent's jersey in the black hole in Oakland, but it wasn't very many, and it typically didn't go well after a period of time. You know what I mean? So and I've seen those things firsthand, and I'm not an advocate for violence. If you participate in that, you're an idiot. But it just, from people throwing peanuts and beer and cursing, but you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't go well for you wearing a Broncos jersey in the black hole in Oakland. But apparently they're getting, that's becoming a thing. So I would just say this. I will never tell anybody what to do with their money. I'd never tell anybody to do with their fandom, but it's not mine to manage. It's yours. But if you're going to I'm a capitalist at heart, but if you're going to sell your Chiefs tickets to make your money back for your season tickets, then you're going to have to be okay with the idea there's going to be a bunch of Chiefs fans in Allegiant Stadium, and them optics are not good. I'll just say that.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And scariest thing you ever saw in the black hole, like if for an opposing fan, I listen, you should be able to do whatever you want to do as far as going to a football game, but that choice, you know what you're getting into. Let's put it like that.
Absolutely. I went to a game in 2011 with my dad, who since passed, his picture right here. And there was 3 Jets fans sitting in front of us. So it's like a dad and 2 teenage sons. Okay. And at one point, there's so much beer and nachos and things flying over, past us onto these folks, and the amount of language and everything. And my dad looks at me and he goes, "At what point is that child abuse? What are you thinking?" And so these guys took their jerseys off and rolled them up and tucked them inside their shirts and wore their plain white shirts and to get out of there, and had to leave by midway through the third quarter. It's, you know what I'm saying? It's not a good look to do that. So yeah, you are taking it into your own hands if you do that.
I should not be smiling because it's that ain't right.
It's not. I'm not advocate for it.
I know you're not, and neither am I. But it's just that the football fans are completely and utterly insane. And as somebody who's vended and sold beer at Soldier Field back in the day, and I would be in the upper deck, and they'd be screaming at me, "Beer, man! If you don't get up here in the next 5 minutes, we're going to throw you off this thing." I mean, and the threat seemed real to me. Like I didn't take that as like anything other than you better get here in 5 minutes. So, all right. It's at least I for one am happy that the Black Hole has survived it and made it to Vegas, because that was at least a slight concern. All right, Murph, you're awesome, dude. This was a lot of fun. I look forward to doing it again. And yeah, the NFL is better when the Raiders are good. So maybe we can see y'all in the playoffs. That'd be sweet.
I sure would hope so, man. I think we got enough to get this thing turned around. So I appreciate you having me, Mark. It's been a lot of fun, man. Any excuse to talk about the Raiders, I'm in on it.
Put Raiders Fan Radio in any Google search. You'll find the podcast. You'll find the YouTube channel. You'll see Murph. You'll see his crazy group of people who hit each other with pie pans and whatever else was going on.
Pretty much, yeah. We do all that stuff around here. Yeah.
Yeah,
we don't take ourselves too seriously. We call it a light journey into the dark side.
Well, you got a great balance of what's going on, and you're having fun, and then you've got some perspective too. So it's good stuff. Raiders Fan Radio. Murph, we'll see you soon.
All right, appreciate it, Mark. Take care.